Either way. Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome back to the Have We Made It Yet podcast. My name is Josh Young, and I'm the comedian portion, one of the co-hosts.
And I'm Lucas Ng, the other actor portion of this podcast.
Yes, he is. And the two of us are just creatives, starting out in the industry, trying to make it. And we thought it might be interesting since we started a few years ago, still relatively new, to do this podcast and, share our experiences, ups and downs about the process of making it and ask each other that question. Have you made it yet? So Lucas, have you made it yet?
Sometimes I always think you're not going to ask me that question for some reason. I'm always still surprised by it. No, I have not made it yet, but I have my first in-person audition where I have to do a skill on Monday, and I have to perform, and I'm kind of nervous, man. It feels like I'm at my old-timey piano recitals that I used to fear as a kid. But no, this should be fun. But have I made it in the general sense? Not at all, man. I started a new job and everything like that, and part of the making it process is making money, so
That's true.
It feels good to be making some money.
That's true. Wait, then what kind of skill? What skill do you have to do in the audition?
I got to play the piano.
Oh, it's actually playing the piano. Oh,
yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to practice a piece and everything like that. So I'm actually kind of nervous about this one. Usually I'm not, but ugh. Anyways, We'll see how this goes.
Well, I mean, if Ryan Gosling was able to play and learn piano for La La Land without any previous experience, then hey, I have full faith in you, especially because you did some piano.
Yeah.
That should be good.
Nice.
But
Mr. Josh Young.
That's true.
Have you made it yet?
I have not made it yet. And still looking for doing shows in Toronto, but some exciting news in the future. I am going back to Vancouver for about a month in August. So maybe we'll finally be able to do our first live podcast where it's just the two of us actually together in a room, since the first time we released our first 5 episodes in 2020 before the pandemic.
Wow.
So I don't know. It'll be a cool experience just in Lucas's apartment in Vancouver. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, also looking to try and find some shows to do in Vancouver as well. So have not made it yet, but going back home for a bit. All right, Lucas, I'm very excited for our next guest. I just met him a couple months ago, actually through hanging out with another alumni of the podcast, RC. Right. We were out and it was just we were hanging out just outside the Labyrinth bar, and it's actually a really popular spot for comedy shows in Toronto. Pretty new. I think it just started out earlier this year. It's called The Lab. And Clif that night was whoops, I kind of just jumped the gun there. But our guest was doing some shows there that night, came out, said a hello, just met up with him. And then a few weeks later, we happened to be on the same show at Mandy's Bistro as well. Nice. So that was the first time I got to fully see his comedy that night. And really funny guy. He's been in the game for about 6 years, and he's already accomplished a ton. He's appeared on the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 2018. And most recently, he has a special coming out. He's part of a lineup for Out for Laughs, which is on Out TV, which you can find on Amazon Prime. So without further ado, I'm very happy to introduce Clif Knight.
Woo! Hello. What's happening? Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for coming on, Clif. And a lot of stuff happening, especially within just 6 years of starting comedy. So really interested to hear your experience, like how that journey's been going. And, right off the top of our podcast, we always ask, Clif, have you made it yet?
By no stretch of the imagination. Not at all. I guess y'all need to really define what making it is, but maybe that's part of the premise of the podcast. Is everybody has a different
Mm,
definition of what that is, you know? Some people are always like, "Oh, you've got these things going for you. This looks great. That's the thing. That's oh, I could never." And um it's sort of like realizing when you look back at like a flight of steps and it's like, oh, that looks impossible from the bottom, but you get to the top and it's just like, no, it looks inevitable, sort of. So, but yeah, I making it, that's not something that's possible in Canada.
well, I feel like yeah, you've kind of hit the nail on the head there, where we leave it open ended because everybody does have their own perspective of what it is. Everybody has their own goals, even like expectations going into it, wanting to start out, because your expectations are never really gonna meet what the actual experience is going to be like. So I guess right now, 6 years in, after going through the experiences you have, what would you say is what you would define as making it at this point?
um, the one big thing making it, that's weird,
Yeah.
is more like a lot of people would say is when, you know, your entertainment job is self-sustaining, like you're able to pay your
Mhm.
bills
Mhm.
or whatnot, which I did for a little while. I hustled really hard and I did comedy full time, including acting, because if you're a comedian, you're not going to eat if you don't do a commercial every now and then.
Yeah.
Mostly because they give you food during the commercial shoot and you have to take
Rafty.
that home and ration it off for the next 3 weeks. But um, between that, getting a singular special, doing like a real tour, getting signed to Imagine AZ, all that like is things that you sort of like Rubik's cube together
Mhm.
to really say, okay, I feel like I've established my own space in this arena. Um, yeah, I don't really feel like I have that in a concrete way yet. So I don't know what it would be defined as specifically like for a lot of people, it's like, yeah, being able to leave Canada and work a little bit better internationally. Although I love it here. I love Toronto. I love Montreal. I haven't gone to Vancouver yet. It is on my
Hmm.
list. Halifax also on my list. Winnipeg also on my list. You know, all these sorts. Even Edmonton and Calgary are on my list.
I mean, you got to hit those. You got to hit those. Have you?
Actually, Edmonton
Yep.
is my I've heard.
Oh, nice, nice. Speaking of like Halifax, Vancouver, Winnipeg as well. I mean, those are like big comedy festival areas. Like, how have you gone through that comedy festival kind of audition process, or like that process to get on them?
A little bit. I've showcased for Halifax. I've showcased for Just for Laughs a little bit. Um, didn't get it, obviously. But part of the thing is like this was my first year showcasing for Just for Laughs, and my
Mm,
Halifax showcase was back in 2019, and that got clouded over by some other stuff. I didn't really expect to get it anyway. So it's just sort of like it's repeat business. They see your
yeah.
name coming back year after year. This year is probably going to be the first time that I apply for Winnipeg,
Mm,
um, because I never really had anything because they have categories that you're supposed to write into. I
right.
never really paid attention to it. So this sort of year is sort of like I have a writing partner that we're going to go over all of our material and see what
Wow.
fits, what can we change. Leonard Chan is one of those guys. Like I watch him, like he does it almost every year. I watch him for the way, like you'll see certain people throughout the year, and I'll see a particular joke, and it's like that's in his style, but I know he's writing that for TV, you
Mm,
know. And so
right.
like just taking notes from that, taking notes from seeing like a joke that he sort of just like came up with and wrote, and then the way that he's like Legoed it into place to be like, no, this is a gala joke now.
Yeah.
Gala.
Gala, Gala, yeah. No, Leonard Chan is like when he came on to the podcast as well, he gave some great insight. He's a great writer. I mean, like he's
Yeah.
pretty much, got that down to definitely like a professional T, especially for writing for This Hour as 22 minutes and doing segments there. Yeah, no, I mean that's definitely one of the kind of, I guess, making it touching points in Canada for Canadian comedians is just being able to showcase onto a festival. Speaking of which, I was like very happy to see that like you managed to go to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 2018, and that in and of itself, I know that's like a goal as well, to submit shows to that festival and try to do shows there. Can you run through that process of, you know, having submitted and then once it's done, going over there and doing the shows?
So the Edinburgh, what I did is I did off the fringe basically. Like you can, it's not like here in Toronto where you have to deal with like the Fringe Society and all that kind of stuff to get your show and you deal with the lottery. They still do sort of have that process, but what they've done in Edinburgh, a lot of the other fringes, is the bring your own venue game is so huge. It's so huge. I worked with this company called Laughing Horse. What they do is you basically pay them, they rent the venue for you, they get the tech together, they do some marketing for you. They'll even email out to local media contacts to try and get people to come review your show. They'll do all of them. You know what I mean? And it actually cost me so much money to do the fringe, but I had such a great time. I didn't even do the whole thing. My show ran for 1 week. I ran 7 days. I did 40 minutes, which was
40 minutes.
fine, to be honest. But I didn't know the landscape. I didn't do enough time promoing. And to be honest, the venue that I got was so out of the way. So it was just sort of like a combination of just like learning, meeting a lot of people, understanding the landscape. I do this thing whenever I go to a new city too, is I want to look around. I want to learn the transit system. And during a festival like Edinburgh, like I should have gotten there a week early, to be honest, if I'm going to do that. And I was there for 15 days, and about 9 days in, I got sick. I got like a crazy flu because the weather is so back and forth in Scotland. And also just like running hard. I was doing something like 7 shows every day. Like I was going to watch shows in the morning, having haggis and coffee for breakfast, you know. And then I had my shows at lunchtime. So I'm doing 40 hours with the sun in the sky, 40 minutes with the sun in the sky. What the fuck's happening?
Yeah.
Right. And then there'd be a cafe right behind my venue. And they would have a show that wasn't really a mic, but it was like, if you talk to the guy, he'll put you on tomorrow. And so like, by the midweek, I'm doing 5, 6, 7 shows every day. We're going out, we're drinking hard every night. If you have a performer pass, at least the year I went, you have a performer pass, your drinks are half off at any bar in the city.
Oh, that's dangerous.
It's 100% a trap.
Yeah.
And I don't drink so much. Like I smoke weed a little bit more, and the weed over there is garbage, to be honest. Like, why everyone's doing heroin. But and I don't know, I had such a great time. So I got really sick. I had to stay in my flat for like a whole day, just like puking my guts out. I had to go find a grocery store and just eat just vegetables for like a whole day. But it was fine. And then after that, fixed up a few things, met a few people, flew back out. Very good learning experience. Definitely want to go back. Definitely want to, because I did that by myself.
Right.
I put together a one-man show, sort of. But I want to take more of a team next time because now I have a little bit of an insight. That whole experience cost me about $5,000. And I made back maybe 1,500. Like,
oh, well, I feel,
poured money on it.
Either way, I feel like what you went through was such an intensive of comedy, just like being immersed in the fringe experience, meeting new people, and then putting yourself through. So like, you know, going through that experience of doing it yourself for $5,000 and then making like 15 back. I mean, that's like, I think that's money definitely well spent, because it's like, how many times do you have that opportunity really even to be able to like push or pull it all together?
100%. It was the year that I had been working 2 jobs. I had been spicing up certain comedy things. I was still doing corporates. I had my side hustle, like I do some consulting on the side, and I was just like, this is the year I have. Because I went to Just for Laughs. I just bought a pass.
Yeah.
I bought a pitch pass. I went to Just for Laughs for the week and a half, and then I went straight to Scotland. Like I came back to Toronto just to change clothes, and
Yeah.
then went right there.
Damn.
Um, so that ended up being a whole lot to do all at once, but it was just like, yeah, I have the cash, I have the time right now.
Mm.
Because I had just left one job, I was going to another job, like as soon as I got back.
Mhm.
And but the thing about the Fringe in Edinburgh, I suppose it's the same sort of thing here, is it's not just comedy. It's
Right.
there's a whole bunch of what's happening. It's just like I went to there's a circus, there was the silent raves, there's the eating competitions, there's a lot of improv puppet shows, people are
Right.
doing burlesque, people are doing fucking BMX tricks. Like it's there's a dude, he's big on Facebook now. I forgot his name, Max something, who's doing like improv rap, like freestyle improv rap.
Oh.
And he was really good. It was really good. I met Reginald D. Hunter. I met
Oh yeah.
Trevor Noah. I met Ari Shafir.
Wow. Nice.
I ran to who else was there? Fucking Phil Jupitus. It was so random. I was eating lunch in a cafe, and Phil Jupitus comes in and starts doing poetry in the middle of the afternoon. Like, and he's a really well known British comedian. I really do
Jupiter.
like if you watch
Okay.
QI, every but QI and 8 out of 10 cast mock the week. That's
Right.
my
Right.
shit. I love those so much. And it was just sort of like really surreal. He had this huge beard, which he doesn't normally have. I was like, oh, just fanning out over my fucking roast beef sandwich. um, but yeah, it was such a great experience. Definitely want to go back if I have the time. But I'm focusing on doing different things.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm going to England, and the Camden Fringe is going to be happening the same week that I'm in London. So I'm probably going to check that out too.
Oh, nice. So when you go to England, is that also for like a set of shows or like kind of a tour?
Not really. Like I'm visiting family,
Okay.
and it just so happens that if I'm there, let me spend the extra money and like see what's happening. There's a lot of
Mm,
Canadians in the UK. So I had
yeah.
a few people to reach out to and check some stuff out. I actually like the idea of the European comedy landscape a little bit more than the
Oh,
American one.
really? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, because they have a much more standard, like especially for the UK and all their shows. Like that's much more part of the culture. Like people will sit down every specific
People
day
sit
during the
down,
week.
people will pay money, people will
Yeah.
come do stuff, people will appreciate the art in a way. So it's like you probably won't get famous, but you'll be able to work.
Mm,
You'll be able to travel, experience a lot more culture for the amount of space. Because like you go to the States,
interesting.
first off, they're hassling you at the border. Uh, Everybody has guns. There's
Yeah.
you don't know whether you have to wear a condom every day. It's a lot. Like you got to be careful, right? So you go to the
Yeah.
UK, it's sort of like, oh, there's healthcare here for everybody. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about going. I have to get an implant. I have to get a dental implant. I was like, should I just do it while I'm there? Just
Well,
fucking medical tourism, maybe.
I mean, it is kind of part of yeah, that the experience. I mean, definitely the landscape. I'm just imagining as well, like in the US, it's still very much, kind of dog eat dog until you get to a certain point and try to get recognized. In Europe, like their system there, I feel like is from what I hear, is just a lot more structured
Yeah.
either way. And it's like you can do a better job of working within that structure. Um,
Yeah, I was talking to a friend about this, about how much North America values the it factor.
Mm.
And
oh,
sure, you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
something great, but they're disregarding a lot of talent by
yeah,
doing that because they're so focused on the commercial side of things, on the retail
Mhm.
side of things. As
Yeah.
if you don't, if you can't sell, then you're not selling. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And
That
so
makes
people will sort of drop you. Whereas there's much more of a mesh in place for people to just appreciate things are good.
mm,
From what I understand and from what I felt when I was there, was
Mhm.
just sort of like, if you've got some talent, even if you're not this crazy, you don't have a crazy social media or anything like that, like people will still give you the time of day. I appreciate that.
Do you find Canada has that good kind of community in terms of bringing up talent that maybe not too marketable?
Not at all.
Oh,
Not at
well,
all. Canada
yeah,
is worse, if anything, because we want to copy America so bad, but we don't even have any money to do it. You know what I mean? Or the resources are in place, but they're so hard to get to.
The resources are in place.
Because in the States, you have crazy guys with bags of money running around. You know what I mean? We don't really have that here. You have to go to the government.
Yeah.
You have to go to this company, or you have to have friends who have money. Whereas in the States, it can sort of be like, no, I just know this dude and he believes in me.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the U.S. is like a monarchy in terms of like opportunities. It's like the big comedians who have like made the bag or got the bag, they're just doling out their money to try maybe bring up certain people here and there. It's like comedians don't get paid for like standardized pays for certain shows. It's almost like the headliner is the one that pays to their openers, and that can be skewed like however you want, right?
Yeah, anything can happen there.
Yeah, so it's all
siloed. It can be fair or unfair, whatever you have.
Yeah, that's interesting. So feels like it's what have you done for me now? What have you done for me lately type of thing. Like, how's your social media? Whereas I guess through your experience in Europe, it feels like, what are you doing now? And it's like more asking the artists, what they're working on, and like,
what are you working on? How is it new? How do you like it?
Yeah.
Those are some questions and some feelings that we don't really do here at all.
Right.
Are you doing well? And am I seeing you? Whereas, in every discipline, there are going to be some artists where like they're going to come, they're going to pop, do their thing, and then they're gone for a while.
Yeah.
And we don't give those people the same sort of respect, unfortunately. And so it just feeds in the grind culture, which, of course, it's not healthy for anybody, but there's some people who are very good at it. They're very good at it, whether or not it's good for them.
Oh, man. That's kind of disappointing to hear at the same time, just because the craft in itself takes a huge leap of faith to do. Do you find, like, also at the same time that you have to expand your skill set? Like, have you gone into TV writing or anything like that?
I've tried. I've written a few things. We started pitching a show to CBC, and we started filming it, and unfortunately, it didn't go the place that we wanted it to. I do a lot of music.
Nice.
I used to do a lot of music, a little bit of acting, some improv, that sort of thing. Right now, the focus for me, like, even when I started, I was a producer when I started.
Nice.
I didn't really I did stand up, but I had like 5 shows running simultaneously. Like, I was doing what Danson's doing now, and I was not doing it in a very organized fashion, so I burnt out.
Yeah.
But it was a good time, and now I'm sort of like focusing a little bit more on creating a community around like comedy. Unlike Josh, you're coming in this sort of like golden age. I can't even speak to whether it's a golden age, but what I feel it's so amazing to have. We have those strip of clubs along Bloor Street.
Right.
That did not really exist when I started. And some of them were just like bar shows, just open mics. But no, we have club, like all of these venues, Tall Boys, the Back Room, Comedy Bar, Lab, even Winona, even the Royal Comedy Theater. It's all there. Everybody's doing so much. So it's sort of like a little Greenwich Village that we have there. And people can sort of like hit it up. You can figure out. It's beautiful. Even Mandy's being where it is now, as opposed to being back at 120, is actually such a boom. So yeah,
even that Mandy's area has the Social Capital Theater there.
Is right there.
They've been doing
a
shows.
Further, you hit Comedy Bar Danforth, all that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely nice to see. I think pre-pandemic, well, I mean, the landscape after pre and post-pandemic has changed dramatically compared to where things were. Like, how do you find, like you mentioned that is like there's so many more clubs opening up in Toronto right now, especially as a queer comic. Like, how do you find that scene is going within this growth of comedy within Toronto?
Oh, the queer scene has always been very tight knit, but also sort of fragmented, in my opinion. But a lot of people now are the queer scene isn't isolating itself as much as it used to. Not that it isolated itself, and people were isolated. It's probably the way to put it, but it meshed very well from what I can see from the people I know. Usually a little bit more experienced queer people tend to like hang on a lot of the newer queer comics. They're sort of like just making the ropes. They're figuring themselves out, so that's fine.
Mhm.
There used to be a much more coordinated queer scene a couple years ago, and then we had a little bit of a turnover of certain things. And like, you know, when tent poles of a certain community sort of leave, people don't really know what to do next. Not everybody
Mhm.
wants to take on the responsibility of pulling that together for themselves again. So I feel like everybody who's doing is doing well, and the people who aren't doing, they're doing well because they're not doing.
Oh,
Hmm.
oh,
There are some
interesting.
people who love art and love to do art, but it's not in their best interest to continue sometimes
Mm.
because, especially as they come back to, is they don't feel the same sort of satisfaction because they're not buying into grind culture. And so that
Mm.
is very discouraging too, is if you feel like you're doing well, you feel like you have a good time, but you're not getting the recognition, you're not putting together the community that you may want because you're not out every night and you have work or you have responsibilities. And then
Mm.
it can be very discouraging. Yeah.
Just for clarity, for my sake, there, when you were talking about grind culture, is that like the 7 days, 40-hour weeks type of thing that you're doing in Edinburgh? Like, what is that grind
No,
culture?
no,
Oh.
grind culture here in Toronto. I mean, we have a very, very poppin' scene.
Mhm.
Um, Compared to like anywhere else, I do think Toronto is one of the best places in the world to start doing comedy,
Yeah.
where you can pull off 15 shows a week if you want to.
Wow.
You know what I mean? When I started, I did one open mic a week. I thought that was the only open mic in the city.
Yeah.
I did that for like 3 weeks, and then someone was like, someone saw me, and she's like, "You're funny. Are you going to the next show?" And I was like, "Huh? What do you mean the
Yeah.
next show?"
Yeah.
She's like, "There's another one happening down the street right now." I'm like, "Show me." And then I think within like 3 months, I there used to be this competition to see how many sets you can do in a month, and this
Oh.
legendary friend of mine, Fang Zhou He, who you might, he's in Vancouver all the time. I think he lives
Yeah.
there now, but he's signed to a club in Alberta, I believe. He had pulled off something like 61 sets in 30 days, and
Wow.
just being so crazy consistent. And like he's a monster now. He's so funny. He's a killer. And that was the sort of thing that people were doing, and
Yeah.
it's still possible to do now. And it will make you really good, really fast. Everybody will see your face. You know what I
Mm.
mean? You'll get to know everything, but also your life will be numbed. It's completely eaten. You won't
Mm.
have anything. You know what I mean? And it's fun. It's fun,
Right.
but it definitely can eat away at you, especially if you feel like you're not progressing artistically. If you're just putting in the
Mm.
numbers to put in the number, you know, are you
Right.
growing? You know?
Yeah, and that's where I've found like
Yeah.
a bit of a rut in the last, few weeks where I almost find that the shows that I am excited for doing or like I managed to book for like, whether it's a bar show or Mandy's, it's like I want to try something new in those shows. And yet like if I'm not prepped or prepared for it, like if I don't have something new or have found the time after working a regular 9 to 5, day job to really like focus on creating something new that might, I feel like whether the set goes well or if it goes bad, like I could get some feedback off of it as opposed to just doing the same set that I know works,
Mhm.
consistently. Like where have you found that balance for finding the motivation to like grind through those rough patches while grinding?
Yeah. It definitely helps to do something different.
Mm.
Mm.
Like I will see, and this is sort of thing that every comic will do at some levels. If you see a new show or you see something you haven't done before, try and do like get a new experience out of your comedy. Like even jokes that they're jokes where I'm so tired of telling downtown here, or like people who
Yeah.
come to my shows, they're like, "Oh, I know this one," and even though they love it, I don't particularly love being the person that's throwing out the same thing all the time. I'd be like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, this new producer has a thing all the way up in Newmarket. Cool. That's an audience that for sure hasn't seen me. I get to try some new stuff. I get to put out some old stuff, have a little bit of fun. Usually you go out of the city, that gives you a little bit more time. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you'll get a little bit of a longer set. You'll likely get a little bit of money, some free food. Like
Yeah.
you can expand the experience. Somebody, a producer out there gets to see you and see what's coming from the city. And then you just go further and further out. So it's just like change the experience is usually my thing. Is if you feel like you're not progressing because
Mm.
you're hammering the same nail, go find a screwdriver maybe.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Josh, man, you just gotta go to Vaughn. Don't worry about it, man.
I mean, he's been in terms of producing shows, like he's also got a new like show series. If not, he's planning one coming up at the Paradise Theater, which is a gorgeous theater.
Oh
Like
yes.
that one looks amazing. Like I'm excited to see comedy shows like perform there. But yeah, like you're right. Like sometimes it ends up being like those kind of tentpole personalities who are really putting in a lot of effort to create shows that are like available for people to submit to and get those opportunities. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to be on like his Fresh Rice comedy showcase like a few years ago, right before the pandemic, if I just didn't happen to meet him and he wasn't putting that opportunity out for like newer Asian comedians. So
Yeah.
definitely shout out to Vong for like the Asian community, also the queer community as well. He's been hitting both.
The young, cute, gay, super cute, chocolate covered Asians. Yes.
I mean, he's pretty much nailed that down because he's got that branding to a T for sure.
Yes, of course.
For sure. Speaking of which, like, yeah, it comes down to different opportunities. I find sometimes it's a lot of luck and sometimes it's like grinding it out and making those opportunities for you. With your appearance on the lineup for Out for Laughs, which is kind of like comedy stand-up series on Out TV, which is on a channel that you could subscribe to on Amazon Prime. I swear, I tried finding it and going through actually
You
how to
can.
find it.
You can. I
Uh,
went and found it, and it's like I don't even want to sign up for the extra channels. I'm sorry to. I'm not shit talking. I just sort of like I know, and this is sort of once again what happens in Canadian entertainment. Like super thankful to have been a part of it. Just the way that it gets presented sometimes it's like this is gonna be very niche, and
mm,
people who are looking for it in that niche way are gonna find it. But
yeah.
if you want to widespread it, like somebody actually recognized me from that.
Oh,
They're like,
nice.
oh my God, I
Sick.
actually watched all of those. And it wasn't someone I knew, it wasn't someone I told to watch it. And I was sort of like, wow, I didn't know people were actually watching that channel, but of course they
Yeah.
are, you
Yeah.
know? And they were like, oh wow, it was really good. And I haven't watched it yet, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's on Amazon Prime. You definitely have to search Out for Laughs on it. And then I just signed up for the 30-day trial. I mean, they offer that if you're in Prime, so you could definitely check it out there. But I feel like that also does, it at least pinpoints very specifically what the audience is, and you can kind of gain some kind of feedback or
Gain some feedback. I see what you did there.
no, I mean, I was like game feedback on like your audience or like your viewership, kind of
Yeah.
like having a better idea of like how your specific audience, comes to you, or identifying that a bit more. And I think this one feels like it's a very good synergy on it. How did that opportunity come about to get on this series?
So there's a few producers who they've been doing Alpha Labs for a while. And so they were going to shoot one in 2020, and then everything got,
Yeah.
discontinued or whatever. And a few people dropped out, to be honest. I'm a second, I'm a runner-up, which I don't ever
Hey,
mind. I don't mind at
hey,
all. And they reached out, they were like, are you interested in doing something like this? I was like, cool, send me the details. And I actually got recommended by a friend of mine, Robert Watson, who runs
right.
Gay AF.
Mhm.
Very, very fantastic set of shows. I believe he has a show about to start right now. Courtyard Comedy happens over at like Osgood Station. Very, very fun little show.
Yeah.
Robert always has like a great audience. I was really appreciative that he was the one who recommended me for that. And yeah, he always has great links. I'm gonna plug him actually. You guys should check out A Gay Victorian Affair, his web series on YouTube for free.
Mm.
It's so funny. It's so stupid. Love it.
It's a gay
But
Victorian affair. That's the
a gay
title.
Victorian affair, yeah,
Okay,
where
cool,
it's
cool.
like, like back in the, Victorian times where if you have like a queer child, like you got a gay son, then you're gonna marry a lesbian daughter. They're gonna be gay, but
Oh
they have to
yeah.
get married. Like, sort of, and it's following that sort of story where it's like everybody's gay, but we can't talk about it. It's so fun.
Interesting.
It's gay Murdoch mysteries is sort of what's
Oh,
happening.
that. Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
yeah, and he was the one who had recommended me for that. We did that. It was such a great experience. So many other cool queer comics who I had worked with previously, even a few newer people, and so I feel like it went off really well.
Sick. Yeah, no, definitely got to check that out. I also really like that premise because it just feels like the opportunities for like miscommunication or like subtle nods,
Yes,
inside jokes along that. Oh, there's plenty of opportunities
inside
there.
jokes to see what you did there.
Yeah, and I mean maybe, but yeah, no, I mean that feels like a premise that could easily be translated as well to like a TV pilot and everything there.
I mean, it's a show. He works in show business. He's a theater person, but a lot of people are working on new shows.
Yeah,
Since the disbanding of Kim's Convenience, everybody's looking for that next sort of like pop show specifically
right,
for Toronto, and
right.
then the spin-offs from it, they're okay, but they don't have the same, like, once again, that it factor is really what matters,
Mhm.
Mm,
for in North America. I won't say in Canada, is it's really even things that have that it factor, they sort of get relegated to gem, and then you have to like remember to go
Hmm.
watch them. Like Tall Boys, so good.
yeah.
But it's sort of like these guys. I've known those guys since I started. Like they've been
Oh,
legends
nice.
forever. And it's sort of like I want that to be so much more mainstream than it is, but also recognizing that the brand of humor that gets pushed here in Toronto is not necessarily what everybody's trying to see
Mm,
everywhere. So I understand, but
yeah,
this is the thing. It comes back to they are not sure that they can sell it.
Mm.
We can
that's
just,
true.
yeah, we can just put it out there and see who takes it, but we're not going to do that. It's a sure thing.
It's so risk averse because then you're just not willing to trust the artist to put out
Yeah,
something that they know is funny, but like producers or marketer industry, like you're not able to fully trust it. But
exactly. It's why we buy something like 60 hours of Big Bang Theory. Why? Why are we doing that?
yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, thank you so much. I think we're
Mhm.
pretty much getting close to the time for the podcast. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your
Thanks for having
experience on
me.
out for Out TV Edinburgh. I really feel like it's been quite a like a comedy intensive getting your experience on grinding and everything there.
I grinded so hard, and I'm technically still doing it, even though I'm supposed to be slowing down.
Yeah.
But even now, I've paced myself to the point where now I have bookings every week. Like I have usually something happening on the weekend. Like, okay, I
Mhm.
don't have to grind it. I'll go to a mic, I'll go to the lab, I'll go to Tallboy, I'll go to Fancy.
Mhm.
I went to the Nothing Fancy grand opening for their new location yesterday. It looks so nice. They
Nice.
have food now. So that's a pretty big plus. I'm going to be making that a spike closer to my house too.
Right.
So, um, yeah, comedy is making this huge comeback in Toronto, and I feel like you don't have to grind
Mhm.
anymore. You can still sort of just like move around, spread your experiences out. But if you are like the way that I was back in
Mm,
2017, and you feel like you really have anything else to do, and this is what you want to press
Mhm.
every day, it's there for you. It's there for
mm. Nice, nice. Well, I mean, it's great to hear, especially see for somebody who's taken advantage through a lot of the different opportunities there.
Yeah.
At the end of our podcast, we do like to ask a kind of a palate cleanser question. Would you rather scenario?
you.
So Lucas will have one. I'll have one as well. So
Mhm.
Lucas, if you want to go start off.
Yeah. This is more about the fame game, if anything.
Mm.
So, Cliff, would you rather be famous online or in real life? Oh, shit. Would you rather be famous online or in real life?
Um, this weird 2022 question. I feel like they bleed into each other, but I feel like I'd rather be famous like IRL. I mean, online presence is sort of everything, right? I don't know. The fame question is weird because now fame doesn't really come with much. You don't get much other than scrutiny.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not even getting paid to be famous anymore. People are just doing it for free. So I feel like, it's part of the reason why I put more work into my stage and, like I did a lot of online stuff. I still do a fair amount,
Yeah,
but
I see your
like
sketches,
I'm
man.
gonna
They're
focus
funny.
on, yeah, I'm gonna focus on being in person,
Mhm.
on meeting people, making those connections. I want to build the community. Building an online community is one of the fastest ways to do
Yeah.
it, and you can do it over a much bigger area for sure. But I want to feel like I've been here in Canada only 10 years, and so getting a community of people together, like in real life, is feeling precious to me right now. So
Mm.
maybe I'll do a little bit more online, like yeah, go back to some of my TikTok days or whatnot. But for now, I'm like I'm doing elbow bumps and handshakes. Let's do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Great. Okay. My would you rather question. I guess it's similar to fame, but more so like say comedic career. Would you rather have a successful, long-lasting career in comedy where you get to do all of the different creative things that you want to do? You do that, but you can never have home cooked Guyanese food again. Or
Oh,
hey, or would you rather have home cooked meals, Guyanese, just the best stuff every day, but you got to work regular 9 to 5 day job, no comedy?
no comedy at all.
Yeah. It's like, what are you would you sacrifice the food for the comedy?
I would have to.
Oof,
I would
there it
have to.
is.
Nice.
Uh, uh, the food is something I can make. I'm cooking. What are people gonna come into my house and stop me from cooking my own Guyanese food? What is gonna happen? I'm at Christmas time making my pepper pot and somebody comes slaps the
Damn.
spoon out of my hand. Get the fuck
Yeah.
out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still I really actually value, like I don't do comedy full time anymore. I do have like a 9 to 5 job, I work from home, albeit, but still a full shift job. Like even weekends,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'll have to work, and I actually really appreciate that because now I feel a lot more creative. When I was doing
Interesting.
comedy as my job, an actual hustle, uh, the competition, the like gotta do it is cool, but it made me not funny. It made me
Mm,
not have fun at times. It made me take on things I didn't want to do because
right.
there was a paycheck because I had rent to make. Um, it put me in situations where I felt like I didn't have control because I needed this.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And I want to need this for creative reasons, not for capitalistic reasons.
right. And that's the balance where it comes to, especially in the beginning. Sometimes I feel like we will get into that mindset of, oh, we're gonna do things we don't necessarily want to do and get the money for it because we have to. And that's almost accepted as part of the process because, oh, you got to grind, you got to be in it, you got to make it your entire life. Whereas, finding a balanced approach, maybe sure, timeline wise, it might not get there quicker, but in terms of sustainability and consistency and enjoyment, it might be a better approach. So that's I'm hearing that's kind of going to be your strategy for making it moving forward.
I think so in the long run, like even if it does come to a point where I'm able to be self-sustaining, comedy wise, I do want it to be in a way where I have not necessarily control, but I have some more input. I have a little bit more space,
Mm,
on doing what it is that I want to do, and the opportunities that I want to take on are going to be worth it monetarily, creatively, spiritually, even,
yeah.
Mhm.
because I feel like these days it is becoming a little bit of a bigger part of my drive is sure it's nice to be on stage and you say this thing that you've written and practiced and edited and flubbed with, and there's been success and there's been failure in that, and then to know that like, oh wow, this sort of thing is gonna work. Like I did another show with Nandy's last night. I did Ross Hammond's show, Ross and Charlotte Davy, and even being in that space, hanging out with people who are here to have a good time, I want to be able to focus on let's have a good time. I don't want to have to focus on is this show only $60? Like I have to run to the next one, you know, or something like that. Which
Right.
it has its own thrill, for
Yeah.
sure. Like when I was in New York, like bouncing around to be able to make enough money so I can have a chopped cheese at the end of the night. That's cool. But I still want to be able to be like, hey, actually, I want to rest this week, or I want to hang out with my friends, or I want to go see family.
Yeah.
So for me, I may never get to that point where I make it to do comedy full time, but as long as I get to accomplish my goals and feel that sense of, you know, accomplishment or like self-actualization in whatever role, however big or small I want it to be, I'm gonna be okay with that.
Amazing. That's great.
Love that.
Yeah, that's a great perspective, man. And seeing you kill it every night on the mics and the shows that I've seen you is like very, very inspiring. I think it does give a good model for people who want to get in the game and find that balance. So really appreciate, again, you coming on. What are your social media handles and like anything big coming up you want to mention?
I've got my show on Thursday the 21st, Heatwave Comedy down at the Comedy Lab. That's the third Thursday of every month. You can find me everywhere. Cliffy So Funny with underscores.
Yes.
You'll figure it out which one. My SEO sort of works, so we'll see.
Nice.
And check it out. Hit the link in my bio. There's all the shows there. There's my PayPal. You can buy some of my t-shirts. There's stuff.
Nice.
You know what I mean? But yeah, just honestly, just hit me up, say hi. My stories sometimes are popping. We go out partying a lot of times because I'm like, after the show, we want to go dance a little bit. It's summer right now, so it's kind of hot. It's kind of hot, and that's why I've just been like the real thing that I've like opened up with this year. It's like let's just, it's
just rock the fan.
100%. It's hot right now. Like my balcony is open, so I'm probably gonna go to the beach after this. That's why.
Nice.
Because yeah, the sun. We in Canada, baby. We're only getting it for like 2 months, and then we're back. And
everybody's got a vitamin D deficiency. We gotta soak that up before it's gone. Great, Lucas. We'll just go in through our socials. What are your socials as well?
Everyone can find me across social media at Lucas John Ing. Simple, my full name. Josh, where can people find you?
Same. You could find me. Simple full name, Josh Young Comedy, across everything. You could also listen to the Sleep with Josh podcast, where I read genuinely dry material. So like the dictionary, laws. I counted sheep for about an hour. So it's all up there. Sleep with Josh podcast. I do need to put new episodes on there, but there's a good catalog of 60, so you could scroll through. So check that out. And of course, if you like what you see in here on the Have We Made It Yet podcast, you can find us at HWMIY podcast, social media. And of course, please subscribe to the YouTube channel for other additional podcasts in the future. So one more time, thank you so much, Clif Knight, for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me. This is a fun concept, and I hope that you have fun with it in the future.
Thanks a lot. We're still going at it. It's been a couple of years, so I mean that we found a good rhythm, I think. But yeah, thank you to everybody for listening, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.